Would you like to give feedback to your boss without becoming disliked by a manager? You've come to the right place because in today's video, I'm going to share how you can give constructive feedback to your boss without getting disliked. Watch this video to the end to learn the 4 secrets to giving constructive feedback, even if it's negative. Hi, I'm Jo Randolph and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a branding consultant based in London and I'll help you become an expert and leader in the field you care about most. On this channel, I share everything you need to know about how to do work you love and make an impact doing the things you love and also increasing your income. Now, if you want to watch videos like this, come and join me and subscribe. I'd love to have you in this community and I'll be sharing new videos every single week. Now, let's get right into it. The fact that you're watching this video tells me that you have a little bit of a problem. You have a manager who has been doing things that has been making you feel uncomfortable, frustrated, or feeling kind of like I can't work with this person in this way anymore. Let's talk about the mistakes that you want to avoid. Now, the number one mistake I see many of my clients make, and it's one that I admit that I have made before, is that you don't say anything at all. You don't really know when it's the right time to say something, and I just want you to imagine the last time your manager did something that upset you, the last time your manager did something that frustrated you, and chances are you probably didn't say to them straight away that when you did this, this is how it made me feel. Because the reality is that there never feels like there's a right time to talk about it, and there never feels like the right way to talk about it. But here's the problem. When you don't discuss these things with your boss, you're actually making it difficult for you to actually bond together. One of the best ways to enjoy your work is to have a really good relationship with your manager. And frankly, every manager also wants to have a very good relationship with the people that they manage and to also help them excel and be at their best. So if what they're doing is stopping you from doing your best, then chances are they would actually like to know so that they can better support you. But it is like a sensitive topic, so I'm just going to kind of ease you into it because I know that there is a way to screw it up and actually make things worse, and that is definitely something I don't want to do. I certainly don't want to receive emails from you saying, "Oh my God, Joy, what did you do? I just got fired." That is definitely not my intention. My intention is to help you improve your relationship with your manager by communicating how you feel and how you're being affected by their actions. The first thing you want to do is you want to get clear on what the actual problem is. Sometimes when you get flustered, at least I know when I get flustered, sometimes I get mad about something, I get upset about something, and then when someone actually asks me a question like, what are you actually upset about? I don't really know the specifics. I can't remember specifically what the person said. I can't remember specifically what the person did. All I did was remember how they made me feel. Now, it's great to tell your manager how they've made you feel to some extent, but it's really not helpful without actually explaining what it is that you're upset about. It's kind of like, imagine dating someone. Like if you were in a relationship, actually if you are in a relationship, you might know this. If your partner said to you, "Hey, so-and-so," I don't know what your name is, so I'm just gonna call you so-and-so for now. So, "Hey, so-and-so, last night what you said really hurt my feelings and I feel like you treat me like crap, and sometimes I wish that you would, stand up for me more, and sometimes I wish you'd treat me better." Like, hearing that statement can kind of throw you off because you're kind of like, 1, where did this come from? 2, this seems like a general statement. And 3, I don't really know how to resolve the issue. And it kind of feels like you're being attacked for doing something where you don't really know what you did wrong. So instead of actually just telling them how you feel and telling them kind of like your conclusion of the impact of what they've had, first think about specifically what they did that triggered you. And then ask yourself this question. First, is this an issue that I have personally? Sometimes we have triggers. So for example, the other day I was watching The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Okay, I admit I'm a Real Housewives junkie. Anyways, I was watching The Real Housewives of New Jersey, and there was one character called Siggy, and she used to get bullied. Like, she used to get bullied all the time when she was a kid. and people would call her mean variations of her name, which I shall not repeat. So one day, one woman said to her, "Oh, you soggy flicker," because she was always crying and very emotional. And she flipped out. She had this crazy reaction, and everyone was wondering why she was overreacting to a soggy flicker, which people on the show thought it was kind of funny. And it turns out that much later on that she revealed that, when I was younger, when people used to call me soggy, like call me saggy or whatever, call me mean names, it really hurt my feelings, and I actually had to move schools more than once, and I was bullied, and it was horrible. So she reacted from that place. So the question is that when your manager is doing something that is affecting you, first, before you give any feedback, check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I reacting because they're hitting a nerve spot? Or am I reacting because there is something that they actually did that is contextually inappropriate? If it is something that is personal, then I totally recommend that you try and work through how you can better respond to those issues, because it's really difficult to ask people to change if you're not willing to grow yourself. Now, the second thing you want to do is then ask yourself how you can ask your manager questions instead of actually telling them all the things they did wrong. I want you to think about, if I was to sit here and tell you all the things that you're doing wrong and why you are not a good person or why you're not a good manager, if I was to sit here and tell this to you right now, how would that make you feel? The chances are it would hurt your confidence, it would make you feel like I'm not believing you, I'm not supporting you, and it would also make it look like I have a negative attitude and I think I'm better than everyone else, which I don't. So when you're trying to give your manager feedback, try and think about how it's going to land for them. Try not to tell them all the things that they're doing wrong, because if anyone was to tell you all the things you're doing wrong, chances are it won't feel good. Instead, think about how you can ask them questions that will, one, help you actually start a dialogue about something, and two, will actually help you kind of guide your manager to reaching the same conclusions as you. So let me give you an example. Let's say a manager has been taking credit for your work. When you have company meetings, team meetings, he or she always somehow manages to say something like, "Oh, we had this fantastic project and I'm so glad that I did it, and I just wanted to let you know it's been a great success." And you're thinking, what? Like, I did that PowerPoint presentation, I did that work, you did nothing. So if you're having that kind of like feeling, for example, then the best thing to do is to actually just have a chat with them and say, "Hey, I noticed that you were really proud of this project." And they'll say, "Yeah, like I am." And say, the next time when you share that excitement and you're proud of work, I would love it for you if you could just mention me, so that if anyone has any questions about the work that was done, that they know who they can ask to get further information. And we're like, "Yeah, sure." Then it kind of feels like you're not going in and saying, "Hey, I am so annoyed that you take credit for my work. You do this all the time." It's kind of like, wow, like that feels quite heavy, right? So instead, ask them questions. Now, there are different ways you can ask questions as well. You can also ask questions like, how did you come to that conclusion? Or, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And basically using questions to give them suggestions. And when you're using questions for suggestions, it can actually open up the conversation rather than making them feel closed and not wanting to kind of talk about this issue. And then the third thing to do is to also give feedback as quick as possible. Try and keep it to 2 minutes or less. Don't go deep and deep and deep into how this thing has made you feel. I did this once and it totally backfired. I took the advice of someone who I shall not mention, and they told me to write an email basically saying how I feel. I did that, and basically my manager got into work one Monday morning and she received basically a long letter with my feelings about how this person had made me feel, and that did not go down well. Now, it did open up a conversation, but it also meant that there was some awkward tension between us. However, if you instead try and have a conversation, a face-to-face conversation with them, or a quick phone call, and you try and keep it within 2 minutes, it actually makes it easier to talk about the issue, but to not let it go on for too long that it actually ends up creating tension in the room. Now, the fourth thing is, if a manager has asked you to give them feedback on something, then it's really important to actually ask them what they specifically want feedback on. Now, this is super duper important, so I'll tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was working for a company and there was this director. He is amazing. One of the best directors I've ever worked with, probably like one of the top 3 people that I've ever worked with in my life. Even though I enjoyed and I loved working with him, many people were completely frightened of him. When he used to give people feedback, people thought that his feedback was quite harsh, that it wasn't very constructive, and that was kind of the gossip in the office. But I, on the other hand, I found his feedback to be straight to the point, and it's exactly how I like to work. So anyway, he wasn't managing me, he was managing my manager, and one day I had my appraisal. And it was him and my manager in my room, and they said, Joy, would love for you to give feedback to both of us. So I had to give feedback to both managers in front of each other. And I remember asking them, do you really want me to give you feedback? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, do you really want me to give you feedback? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure I don't know, like, are you sure you want me to give you feedback? Like, really? And they were like, why? Like, what are you gonna say? Anyways, it turns out that after I had that conversation, that most people that were asked to give feedback, one, didn't give feedback at all. They were just kind of like, hey, you're great, everything you do is great, and they just didn't give any feedback because everyone was so intimidated and they didn't know what to say. And they were afraid that if they gave feedback that it wouldn't work out well. But I knew they were sincerely asking for feedback, so I asked them, do you really want me to give you feedback? And the second thing is that if you are giving them feedback, try and find out exactly what it is that they want to know. So in my scenario, I only gave one piece of feedback to both, and the feedback that I gave ended up being something that they actually gave feedback on each other, so it ended up working out well. But I have heard stories of people saying, oh yeah, sure, I'll give you feedback, and they list all the things that they find frustrating about working with that manager. Like, your meetings are so long, I find it irritating the way you micromanage me, I think you work too long hours and you expect ridiculous things of me, I also think blah, 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 and they just go on and on and on. And the manager is just sitting there thinking, wow, I really didn't realize that you felt that way about me. And it's just awkward. When often, not always, but often when a manager is asking you for feedback, they might be looking for something in particular. Maybe they're being assessed by their manager on some particular issue, and they want to know whether they've improved on this issue. So just ask them, is there anything you want me to give you feedback on in particular? Like, what would help you the most? And if you say that and they know that you're coming from a place of an intention of helping them and working with them and being supportive of them, then the feedback is much more welcome than a rant on all the things you dislike about working with them. So anyways, that's it. Those are the 4 steps to giving constructive feedback to your boss without being disliked. I would love to know what you think. What have you found most frustrating about working with a boss? Leave a comment in the box below. I'd love to know, because maybe you can share something that will help me share with other people how they can also be better managers. So leave a comment in the box below. And that's it for me for this week. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I love hearing from you, and I can't wait to see you again next week. All right, bye.